Ed Borges serves as the Senior Director of Special Projects for Houston Baptist University. He has spearheaded important advancement, including a recent emphasis on enhanced services to military veterans and their families. Welcome, Ed.
Thank you, Jerry.
When you bring up veterans, you bring up something that I think is near and dear to all of us.
Yeah, it's a very special population, and it's one that we have received a lot of emphasis in the last 2 years. In my previous role in the Office of Admissions, we got to work very closely with veterans who were applying to the university, and it was a great opportunity to become very acquainted with what veteran matters and the things that really kind of mattered to veterans at that particular time from the admissions office, the application process, the services that they were receiving. But it was an even better opportunity to realize that they had some services and some needs that at that particular point we weren't meeting. And so it was great to assess and talk with our Vice President for Enrollment Management, James Steen, and look at ways that we could then identify how we could enhance the services that our servicemen and women were receiving. And so that was the first time that I really became acquainted with the process of serving those that have served us.
And so specifically, what is HBU doing in this project?
Yeah, so we started very basic, basically kind of peeling back some layers and finding out what we were doing right and where we had some opportunity to make some real differences. And so grants, they receive benefits from the federal government, and so there are opportunities for the university really to kind of get involved in enhancing those funds. You know, our service members, they get benefits from the federal government that usually will help cover the tuition and fees for public institutions.
Right.
Community colleges, junior colleges, state schools, but many of our servicemen and women want to attend private universities like HBU, and so one of the first things that we discovered is that we were not doing the best that we could in meeting them in providing them with the best possible resources. And so we looked into a benefit called the Yellow Ribbon Program. That was one of the very first initiatives that we got involved in. And the Yellow Ribbon Program, just to give you kind of a practical application, is the government's way to partner with private universities to allow servicemen and women to bridge the gap that they would have after they use their benefits to be able to pay for a private institution. And so we were only doing, I think it was about $1,000. And so to put that in perspective, if you're a service member, you come to HBU, for practical purposes of this conversation, I'll just give you a number out of the air. Let's say the tuition is $20,000 and the service member has a $10,000 benefit. Well, they have a $10,000 need. We were giving them $1,000 and the government matches what we're able to give. So the government was giving them $1,000 more, and so they still had an $8,000 gap. To give you an example, obviously the numbers are different. And so one of the very first decisions that we made as an institution was to up the Yellow Ribbon contribution to unlimited. So in that example, we went from only contributing $1,000 to an unlimited amount. The government covers 50% of that unlimited amount. And in that example, the $10,000 is now fully covered. And so that was met with great expectation and positivity from our servicemen and women, and we were off to the races. That was the first domino that dropped in making some really tangible changes. Another one was that we were allowing certain student populations to have priority registration. For instance, athletes have a real need to register first before the general student population because of NCAA rules and things like that. And our service members were not. And so we immediately put them at the front of the line as well. And so now service members are allowed to register before the semester starts, along with some of our other student populations that have these privileges that they can exercise. So Those are just two practical examples of some of the things that we did, low-hanging fruit, if you will, that we identified as no-brainers that we had to institute. Another thing we did was we talked with our service members who were enrolled, and we asked them what they wanted to see. Changes, program services, and invariably what we kept on hearing is, we need a space of our own. Veterans, many of them are non-traditional. The majority of them are not dependent on their parents. They've served the country. They usually are ready to come into an academic environment after they're 24 years old. Many of them have families of their own, and so they are the epitome of a non-traditional student. And so providing them with an opportunity, a place on campus where they can interact with people who have had the same experiences as they have had was an important thing. And so we went about looking at places on campus, and as you know, real estate's at a premium here at the university, and so
that's good news.
It was very good news to be able to identify an area on top of the student cafeteria in the Boss Center, which accommodated offices. There's a joint area where they can actually sit down and watch TV and play video games and interact with each other. And as I like to say, they speak vet. They speak vet to each other.
Sure.
And essentially it's a camaraderie, it's a brotherhood and sisterhood that requires a specific area. And so they've been very happy with that. We worked with them to create a Student Veterans Organization on campus. It's a branch of the Student Veterans Association of America, which is a nationwide organization. We have a branch of it. And, I think one of the initiatives that we have going right now is that we're trying to create awareness within our student veterans so that they can become members. Membership in the Student Veteran Association allows them several benefits, but the most important benefit, if you will, is that they are given the information first about services and processes and procedures that we're able to put in place to help them get to where they need to be academically.
Now, we're talking to Ed Borges, who serves as the Senior Director of Special Projects for Houston Baptist University. Military veterans should hold a dear spot to every single one of us as Americans.
They do, and what they've done for us and what they've done for the country in general, I think, warrants all of the attention that we can set aside to make sure that they're having the best possible experience here.
On break, I went to D-Day where Omaha Beach was, where Saving Private Ryan was filmed, and when you get on that beach and see how huge it is, and 10,000 in World War II that died, it was just incredibly moving to my wife and I. And then we think of all the conflicts from World War II to date. So how are you actually marketing HBU to the military community? And I guess we're talking about two things here, residentially and online?
Yes. I'm glad you mentioned online. We now have a very full portfolio of online classes that we can offer our veterans through our online programs here at HBU. But you pose a very good question. How do we get the word out to those servicemen and women who are about to be separated from active duty or have been recently, want to take advantage of their Montgomery GI Bill or their post 9/11 benefits? How do you get in front of those students to let them know that HBU is here? Coincidentally, HBU tends to be a very good match for a lot of our veterans, given that they're looking for universities, by and large, that have the same values that they have, and so love of country, and
right.
Just many values that HBU has that a lot of our service members really believe in.
HBU Center of Law and Liberty would be probably their anthem.
That's a great example, yes. And so that was another thing that we were looking at. How can we do this? How can we get out and spread the word? And so one of the areas that we identified was a publication. Victory Media is pretty much the industry standard when it comes to communicating and advertising to military personnel.
And what is Victory Media?
It's a company that essentially known for many things, but primarily for putting out a publication called Military Friendly.
Sure.
It's a magazine. The magazine has all sorts of information that is pertinent to servicemen and women. And one of the things that it's known for is a ranking of universities and institutions, companies as well, but in our case, academic institutions, and how military friendly they are. And so they have a qualification system, they call it awards, and you essentially fill out a form, and in that form you provide data and statistics and information about your veteran population and the services that you're providing them. And then they come back with a decision. It's a third party, non-affiliated with the Victory Media Corporation. So this independent study essentially ranks the universities and their answers, and then they come back with a decision as to whether or not, based on what you've answered and the information you provided, you are a military-friendly institution. And so we applied 2 years ago. We went down that road, and we were just now beginning to say we're doing some things right for our military personnel. We could improve, so let's go ahead and fill out the survey from Victory Media to see kind of where we stand. Surprisingly enough, we were awarded the silver classification.
Wow.
And so that was yet another affirmation that we were doing some things right. We were headed in the right direction. We weren't where we wanted to be. We still are not where we want to be. We're wanting to do additional things to make sure that our veterans are getting the best possible services they can. But that was a great affirmation for us at the time to say, we're headed in the right direction. This past year, we went ahead and applied again, submitted our information, let Victory Media know of the new things that we have done in this past year. And again, we were awarded the designation, this time the gold designation.
Wow,
so
congratulations.
It's the second designation. And there's only one above gold, and it's top 10%, and that is the best of the best universities, and that is our goal. Our goal is to reach the top 10% of universities in the country who are providing with our servicemen and women with the best possible services.
And you're drawing them to both a residential and online experience academically at HBU?
Yes. Residential absolutely is an option. It becomes a bit of a challenge for our military personnel because of their non-traditional nature, in the sense that many of them have families of their own, and so living on campus as a traditional campus residential experience typically is not an option that they would want to benefit from. And so that's why the online aspect of the delivery is very appealing. And with some of the things that we're doing in our online program right now, not only do the veterans have the ability to take online classes locally, they can take online classes anywhere in the world that they happen to be stationed in. And so that's something that we're very proud of, is offering them that possibility.
And that's HBU Online, and we are talking with Ed Borges, who serves as the Senior Director of Special Projects for HBU. Tell me about some of the other projects that you're working on.
Yeah, well, working in special projects is a branch of the Office of the President, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get to work with and for the President of the University, Dr. Robert Sloan, and to see his vision come to light. As you know, we have a 12-year vision plan, the 10 pillars, and many of those initiatives interlace with what the Special Projects Office is doing. And so we've been asked in the Special Projects area to partner with campus constituencies, both internal and external, to help bring some of those pillars to life. And currently, one of the pillars that we're working on is an external initiative. It's pillar number 9. It's essentially focusing on kind of the globalization, the internationalization of campus. It's something that's near and dear to the DNA of the university. As you know, being in Houston, we're an international city, the third largest city in the United States.
Exceeding New York City.
Exceeding New York City. We're very much a reflection of the Houston population in terms of its diversity, ethnic and cultural. But surprisingly enough, at Houston Baptist University, our true international student population and international collaborations with international partners is not where we want it to be, and there's room for growth. And so that was another area that the Special Projects Office identified that we could make a difference, and we could take the mission of the university to the next level. And so therefore, we were off to the races once again in talking with international partners. One of the things that we want to be able to offer our students is the ability to study abroad. And so we have some agreements that have been made by some professors who have been proactive about reaching out to, in one case, a university in Spain, the University of Santiago de Compostela. They offer an internship program to our students who go and study there for the summer. They get HBU college credit that is applicable for their graduation, but they get an experience of a lifetime, Jerry. They get to go to Spain. They get to travel there. The University of Santiago has the partnership with HBU where our students get to stay with host families.
Cool.
And I understand you may have an opportunity to talk to our faculty member who spearheads that, Dr. Encarna Bermejo, and I know she'll do a wonderful job of telling you some of the details involved with that. Just like that, we're looking at agreements and establishing partnerships with other places in the world. Primarily, we're looking right now at agreements and partnerships that we can establish with Southeast Asia. We have already sent several delegations to China. We have friends of the university who have a heart to see HBU have a presence in China, and not only to establish study abroad programs, that would be a component of that, but also to provide our students the ability to go to China. We're working on a special project right now for this summer. 2 weeks, 10 students or more from HBU get to go, all expenses paid. All they have to do is pay their way to get to and from China, and the host school will pay for their lodging, their transportation, meals while they're in China. And for 2 weeks, they get to work with 7th and 8th grade students in China, teaching them English.
Excellent.
They get HBU credit. They have potentially a life-changing opportunity to get to go clear across the world and interact with these young people. More importantly, they are going to be able to share what HBU is as an institution with these students, and hopefully they will be able to plant a seed that these students later on, as they get closer to graduating, to come to the United States. You know, a very interesting phenomenon is happening in China. Students are very, very well prepared from a very early age.
Sure.
But the population is so large that when many of them, a good majority of them, get to college level and college readiness, many of them are not accepted into the schools that they have there, the universities. And so many of them stay in the country but without additional options. And so what we have found is that there is a real opportunity for Houston Baptist University to establish a presence and to begin to create an awareness with Chinese students who are looking for options. You know, there's a good number of students that go from China to the UK, to Europe.
Absolutely.
And I think this is the perfect opportunity, and it's the right time for Houston Baptist University to begin to establish a presence in China.
Now, you had a prospecting trip last summer to Beijing?
We did. We covered 4 different cities.
What cities?
7 days, and we met with about 14 different appointments in those 7 days. So you can imagine we were off and running. We initially landed in Beijing, but then immediately went to Nanjing. And in Nanjing, we were invited by a music school who's interested in collaborating with Houston Baptist University. Their students only get to the 8th grade, so there would be a gap of time. But creating an awareness with those students is something that we're very interested with. But to answer your question, we went to 4 cities: Nanjing, Beijing, Shanghai, and Xining. We never made it to Xining because our flight was diverted midair because we couldn't land. The fog was too much, and so we were diverted to another city. But in that small amount of time, 7 days, we were able to make some great relationships in Nanjing. We were able to establish a relationship with the headmaster and the owner of a K through 12 Christian school in Nanjing, China. They're allowed to operate as a Christian school.
Sure.
And so that's a great opportunity. We came back, now that headmaster wants to have a real valid interaction and relationship with Houston Baptist University, to the degree that the hope for us and for them is that there could be a pipeline established where they can begin to send us students. And we can hopefully reciprocate by sending students of our own to do internships. Perhaps some of our faculty and staff can go there and have a global experience as well. And so the possibilities, I think, are going to be endless and are going to be very fruitful for everyone involved.
You know, I can't just say enough good about what you're doing, and it changes your perspective. I remember when I landed in Beijing and got among the Chinese people and the Chinese churches, and in Hong Kong and all that. And when you think that it's 4 times the population of the United States just in China.
It's incredible.
And then Chin, India, I mean, it's literally about 1 billion plus in India. This is a huge corridor, not to mention all the rest of the Far East. These are great developments.
Thank you, Jay.
And I think they're extremely promising for the future of Houston. You know, 1,000 flights a day go out of Bush and 700 flights a day go out of Hobby. We have nearly 2,000 flights a day going out of this international city, and we can take off from here and land in scores of different countries and never stop.
Absolutely.
God has positioned the university. I think it's what Dr. Sloan has pointed out, that most Christian universities, for whatever reason, we're in smaller geographies. Houston Baptist University is in the 4th largest city in the United States of America. What kind of opportunity does that pose?
A tremendous opportunity, and one that I think, if done right, is got some endless opportunities for Houston Baptist University, from both undergraduate, graduate students that are online versus on campus. You were mentioning the ease with which you can get to and from Houston. We hopped on a flight in the evening. We left, I think, at around 11 o'clock at night, and 14 and a half hours later, we were in Beijing, China. And one straight trip, and the minute we got there, there was a level of warmth from the Chinese people.
They love Americans.
They love America. They want to, there's a palpable embrace that you can see. The Chinese students, their families want their student to have the best possible opportunity in life. And I think what we're seeing is that many of them are now looking for that possibility elsewhere. And they're looking for that possibility in other countries. And we want to be on the top of their list as they start to consider universities in the country. You know, we saw another phenomenon. They're looking for, they're very brand awareness. Very brand aware. There's an awareness of different brands, and so when they look for universities, they're looking for the top 5 universities in the United States. And there's a great deal of information that we can share with students about why HBU should be part of the conversation. We're located in Houston.
Houston helps.
Houston helps are very much attracted to degrees that have to do with areas that we're known for: oil and gas, healthcare.
Astros.
The Astros, Yao Ming, you know, in one of our presentations, we were able to do a presentation, a slideshow, and one of our slides that got the most response from the young people when they saw it was a slide of the Houston Rockets and Yao Ming when he was a center for the Houston Rockets. Yeah. And you could just see the students really.
Now, you are from what country?
My parents were born in Venezuela. My dad was involved in the oil and gas business, and so I, by happenstance, happened to be born in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
But the rest of my, one of 6 siblings, the rest of my siblings were born in Venezuela.
But what about your wife?
My wife is from Venezuela.
Okay.
Yes, we met in Venezuela.
Okay, and so I'm certain that you have friends and family that
we do.
Are facing the post-Hugo Chavez era.
Yes.
There in Venezuela.
Yes, it's quite unfortunate what a lot of families are having to go through. You know, Venezuela is the top It's in the top 5 oil exporting countries. It's got one of the largest oil reserves in the world, yet people are dying, starving, the economy is in shambles, and so...
Any hope for the country to do a turnaround?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, it's been 15 years since Hugo Chavez was president, and I think that the person that's in the presidency right now, Nicolas Maduro, I think it's been a lot of the same type of political philosophy, and I think Venezuela is very close to
And
a
do you and
change.
your wife go back?
I don't have any immediate family in Venezuela. My wife went back about 5 years ago when she had a death in the family. But right now, it's very difficult to go back. In fact,
Right.
the U.S. State Department advises
Right.
against it. It's one of the most dangerous countries to go visit, which is really sad for my wife because she's got family there that she would like to go
Sure.
visit. Her mom and dad are there still.
Sure.
Venezuela just passed a law where Venezuelan citizens cannot leave the country without permission from the government.
Yeah.
And
Sounds,
so it's very,
yeah.
it's
We
very
pray
dire
for the
right now.
people of Venezuela.
Yeah.
Just before we go, we got just a couple of minutes. Let's talk about South America. Any agenda? I mean, here we are right on the border of a huge population to our south.
Yeah, there's 2 opportunities that right now we're looking to explore. One is Mexico. Our friends down south, one particular area in Mexico is Tamaulipas, the state of Tamaulipas, and the current governor is an alum of
I saw
Houston
that.
Baptist University.
That's great.
Dr. Cabeza de Vaca. And so he has already traveled to Houston and talked with Dr. Sloan and members of the Executive Council about ways that we can partner with the state of Tamaulipas, HBU in Tamaulipas. So they are on the horizon. They want to do some things. We've already signed a memorandum of understanding to do some
And I saw Dr.
exploratory
Sloan
things.
did that with him.
Dr. Sloan and their Minister of Education came down to Houston Baptist University along with the governor of Tamaulipas. And he really has put a lot of emphasis on partnering with Houston Baptist University. So they're a state in a country that we have some possibilities, some collaborative possibilities with. And then Central America also presents some opportunities. There are several private Christian high schools in Honduras and Guatemala that have reached out to Houston Baptist University.
What about Nicaragua?
Nicaragua as well. We actually have some students from Nicaragua enrolled here. And so there's some burgeoning opportunities there as well that we want to explore.
Well, this is all good news, and it's coming from Ed Borges, who's one of the most liked, esteemed team members at Houston Baptist University. You've been here how many years?
This will be my 20th year, Jerry.
Well, congratulations,
20th
Ed, and
Thank you.
you are greatly loved by so many people. We want you to learn more about the military opportunities at HBU. And you can do so by going to hbu.edu/veterans, hbu.edu/veterans. And you may be thinking about getting a degree or a postgraduate degree, or maybe you know of a Christian school student. HBU has an incredible array of academic offerings. You really need to check it out. It's academia with distinction. A degree from HBU means something. This is no mail-order factory university, and it's all available for you to investigate at 289-649-3211, 281-649-3211. Check out HBU and tell a friend about it. Remember, more information is available at hbu.edu. Stick around for the next Think About It. Thank you, Ed Borges.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate the opportunity.